players that are looking to get themselves toward that grand final. Not just quite yet, but they've got some work to do. Of course, it'll just be me here today. Nobody else co-casting, so forgive me if I've got to breathe for a few seconds, but we'll get through this and we'll get you some good entertainment and good content. Of course, with these two teams, they both ended up winning their first matchups in these championships 3-0. So it was a quite impressive feat to say the least. Although I don't think there was a league play and these teams kind of just signed up to see them come in and kind of blow their opponents out of the water really, really strong. I mean, the Ravens coming in at that first seed, Xavier Knights only at that fourth seed. So, keep your eyes peeled for maybe a little bit of an upset here if you're thinking about in terms of seeding. But as well, we're just looking to see these teams pop off, show us who's the best and who has that grit and that will to propel themselves to the grand finals. But here you go. First game started, BO5, like we mentioned, and the band's already starting to come through. It's going to be anti-dive for, well, both teams here. The Iron Fist kind of banned out, Spider-Man as well, not really trying to deal with any of that. But of course, the save comes through onto the Magic. So, as well as the Daredevil, actually. So I think maybe just a bit of comfortability coming through here. And that's sometimes a lot what we'll see with the high school competition side is that a lot of the time comfortability kind of mixes with meta to produce the best form that this team can provide. The Bucky ban kind of just saying, hey, we don't really have a Bucky player would be my guess, at least going into it. Same thing with the Phoenix on the other side. The Gambit, that one's more of a meta ban, like we've seen the Star-Lord save. Again, a bit of comfortability on that side, kind of just trying to bring things into your favor, I say, as the thing does get banned here for our final choice. And so what does that spell out? It spells that we're going to have a bunch of comfortability coming through today, but of course, still plenty of room for hero picks. And yeah, the save onto the Daredevil maybe going to be chosen for Who's Nash up at the top as these comps do start to kind of bring themselves out. And as everyone starts to finally get sided, we've got Strange and Groot for the side of Xavier. That feels pretty normal. I mean, you see maybe a little bit of a swap between Moon Knight, Punisher, and Namor, but those are three characters you're kind of expecting to see in a lot of these competitions. They're characters that are kind of one size fits all. You can pretty much play them in any comp, and they'll, for the most part, get their value as chosen. Of course, with the Ravens, though, going to be a little bit different. Right, obviously they
Is
have...
it true that you granted Hela sanctuary after her fall from grace on Clintar?
The 8th City opens its gates to all refugees, no matter their crimes.
I shall remember that, should the throne of Ixgard ever be stolen from me.
But of course, I mean...
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2,
in the end. So there you go, we've got that. And a pause coming through might mean a DC, might mean some technical difficulties, but of course we'll get that solved in just a few moments. Yeah, double hit scan for Xavier. I mean, this is hopefully a team that if they can get that aim on point, if they can just land the shots, they might just be taking this one over, but we'll have to wait and see. Two players kind of chilling out in spawn. Maybe this is the DC that we were looking at, but hopefully, yeah, okay, it does come through, and looks like we will get things sorted. Might take a minute, but all good as long as we can get these teams going in playing. Of course, this is, like we mentioned earlier, the upper bracket round 2. This is one of 2 games that will be played actually that are at the same time right now. Of course, after this game, we will take a peek at the lower bracket where one of these 2 teams will face either Feral Rivals or Da Vinci Gamma Wolves. So keep your eyes peeled there. Of course, you could argue maybe it's going to be a little bit more lopsided there as well in terms of the seeding. But for the Da Vinci Gamma Wolves, they were 3rd seed coming into this, and they've kind of found themselves at the lower side of things, falling to the hands of Xavier. So, bit of an upset there. And Xavier looking to do it again. Of course, we're just looking to get out of spawn here, make sure everything's good to go. Yeah, our date for today is going to be just 2 games on the stream here, as far as I'm aware. We have that upper round match, the lower round match. But of course, there are still things happening off stream. So if you're sticking with the brackets, things like that, make sure to keep your eyes peeled on socials, wherever you get the information for this competition. And it looks like everybody is finally ready. Feeling good to go. Computers locked and loaded. And we finally get to see our first fight of the game. It's going to be Captain America, that final decision for Ethlic. And the Dashin comes through, not quite finding any value that you would expect, but it's actually the final blow for EC the GOAT. Finding themselves a bit of value, and this is going to be a straight-up brawl that is going to favor the Ravens. I mean, Thor is such a good character to do that along with this dive, and Xavier will fall flat in this first fight. Something that we need to see from them going forward is not let this Raven squad take any initiative on when these fights are going to be taken, because then Xavier will feel the back end. They'll feel the brunt of how strong dive really is. And so if Xavier can kind of impose their will a little bit, you know, hold strong, plays a death ball if they need to, well, they'll be good to go. But here we go, hard engage off the dive. Star-Lord, Daredevil in the back line. Namor, of course, going to be countering that dive with a little bit of turret damage, but for the most part, no picks come through. That is until Who's Nash does fall a bit short. Maybe a quicker respawn as there's no space really being gained by that elimination, but here we are. It looks like the player is starting to move forward. The Moon Knight Hand of Khonshu comes on through. That's almost going to find the one. It gives enough damage, though, to take down the Wavy God. And so this looks like a resetty spaghetti moment if I've ever seen one. Just making sure the Ravens can get out of dodge, because they need to have a fight without being too hard of staggered. There was a nice little shot there on a Kerbise at the end, but there is the flip. 57% for the Ravens. For Xavier, they'll find their first fight win. Of course, if you're looking at ults on the board, that's 3 for the Ravens, 1 for Xavier. I guess you could count maybe 2 and 3 coming up short, but if you can get this engagement out quick, it's going to be a lot better for you. Eternal Bond, though, this is going to be to scale in onto this point, make sure they can get as much value as possible. Of course, White Fox will launch their ultimate into the mix, additional healing, and now the Eternal Bond out from Xavier. I have a feeling that's going to be matched up by EC the GOAT. No, they fall down instead. That is going to be too much damage for them to withstand. That's 2 major picks. And Xavier, well, they fended off the Ravens yet again. To start to worry, the Ravens, well, they had to jump on them the first time, but did Xavier kind of lock in and figure out the win condition for the Ravens and take it away from them? By the way, even if they have figured it out, 5 ults still on the board for them. And a lot of ways to approach this one. You can engage early, you could wait till a little bit later after that initial dive comes through, but it is going to be that Hand of Khonshu launching the backline, forcing them in. A very strong play. Meteor M onto the Eternal Bond is the goal here, it looks like, but it is that legendary from the skies. It's going to land 2 eliminations along with the rest of the team. That's 4 total, and now 2 players remaining, just those Vanguards. They're going to go down as well. And we've got a nice clean flip using about 2 to 3 ultimates, but enough to still keep this playing field level.
We've won the battle, but the war's not over yet.
Great job from them, honestly. Did not think that fight was going to go as clean as it did, but Xavier maybe just didn't have enough ults in the tank. They kind of struggled to land that meteor end maybe, and that was the win con that they desperately needed that just didn't come to fruition. Of course, Loki Totem going to be forced out already. That is a big piece of cooldown and utility. I have Agamotto, though, in the back line. That's going to land on a 2. And Dino, okay, making themselves known. Although they do go down. Wait a minute, the fight flipped? It is that Daredevil ultimate that finds 3 picks. That might just be it. It's a team wipe. And as that timer picks on up the percentage closer to 100, that's just gonna be it. Our first sub-map goes to the Ravens. Wow. There you have it. I mean, Throne Room, one of those points that can be really tricky with all the various different avenues. The ability to kind of dive off certain points, but even with these teams funneling through the main chokes, still, they find their way home. The Ravens, after what looked like maybe a little bit of a scary middle section, if you will, they found themselves right back in a groove, realizing they need to go for that dive and force some cooldowns out early, and then on top of that, punish the players out of position. They get things going in their favor, and the rest history, at least for the first sub-map, that is. You could argue a few more ults coming up for Xavier, but still not quite going to be used in this fight yet unless it's elongated. So I'm looking at the Wavy God here. That one solo ultimate on the board, really the tide changer in this one if you can make it. And a first hard engage onto, say, the White Fox. I mean, even a Strange would be really, really strong. Get yourself this first fight. You're going to have decent ult advantage as well going into the next. Something you're looking for. And here's maybe the flank. Yep, going for it. Let's see it. And how much is going to get? There's the lightning strike on a 1. There's the second. And just like we predicted, the fight goes very cleanly in their favor. It's about teams executing on the game plans that are being generated. And they found them out perfectly. Some nice movement there by the Daredevil, who's Nash, to take down Border. Yeah, I mean, this fight obviously is going to be a little bit more even with the White Fox ult coming up, with the Eternal Bonds slowly coming to fruition. But Ravens, their main goal for this early engagement, farm up as quick as possible, get an ult online, and then have it to match. Of course, that works too. If you can find that initial pick onto the one player that has an ultimate in this game, gonna be feeling pretty good about it. The Wolverine passive does get used as their first elim, quote-unquote, comes to life, but make that the second that brings them fully on down. Who's Nash as well, doing a bit of work in that backline, making sure nobody can support both themselves and their team. And although this fight is pretty scrappy, pretty staggered, the numbers still in favor of Ravens. They should have this one on lock. And just the rest of the players fighting for all charge until the reset comes back from the players that spawn. White Fox ult, though, early in here. And that is not going to have their backline. Eternal Bond, of course, though, will kind of help stall out this White Fox ultimate in response. That is from, of course, the Loki copy, but a bit scary still, as now a second Eternal Bond gets thrown in. That one's going to be from Bubble. And now a third from EC. Everybody's getting in there. Legendary, though, you want to start being scared if you haven't been already. Meteor M as well launched in. And as those healing waves disappear, it's all blue in the elimination feed. It's Kerbise with a very strong ultimate for themselves, putting Ravens up to 75% and counting. Very good position for the rest of this fight. Teleport is going to be elected to be used. The shield kind of propped up to make sure no damage taken, no crowd control removes that TP, but the Dark Child in. They want to take this engagement. They believe they can win this fight and give themselves a super shot in this sub-map. But that's going to be the Thor ult. Once again, Dark Child matches. EC the Goat somehow finds 2, which is a primary fire of the dagger, which is pretty dang cool. But now the rest of the team needs to hold their weight, needs to stand strong, and that Captain America ult maybe going to be forced away as the HP just not exactly infinite. We'll have to back on up and hope for the best as they also find themselves now hitting the reset button. Who's Nash? Last ditch effort, trying to force out maybe an ultimate, but that's going to be it for them. Just that 1-for-1 trade. Ravens going to need to catch their breath for a second. So at least they should be waiting for that full team to come back. Very low HP onto Athletic, but still manages to find their way out due to the Loki totem. Next ult online isn't going to be for a little bit. That is for either team. So if you can win this neutral fight, if you're the Ravens, you actually can take this down. But Ethia goes down once again. Now you find yourself in a situation where you only have one Vanguard, no shield really either. Just hoping that that raw damage, that dive, that accuracy will work out for you. And it's not quite happening. But that Eternal Bond does come through. They are trying to hard engage into this fight. And that is a lot of damage being put out. Big screen being applied, and that will find at least the damage, the blinds, and the eliminations now in the end. TP not available at all. Only one player left remaining, and I think they're the one coming back from spawn. Well, they're hanging on for dear life, and they're going to be removed before they even find the touch. So there you have it. Map 1 goes in favor of the Ravens. A little bit more dominant on that second sub map as opposed to the first, but in the end, Ravens, you have to consider them convincing in this first total map. And for Xavier, you start to maybe worry just a bit more. Of course, this is a best of 5, so you still do have plenty of time to come back, but now you're also looking at, okay, what map choice do we go to? What's in the pool that we can kind of address? What do we feel strong on? How do we adjust the hero picks and bans? Well, we've got the time, so I guess we can also kind of launch our predictions, our 2 cents into the mix for that. Domination, never really a true testament of what that full series is going to look like, but it can be a good idea of who's out of the gate strong, who are those individual players to look for Xavier. I think this next map that they're coming up on will be Convoy. I believe that's how that kind of works throughout. But as for which one they choose to go to, I'm going to say it's Yggdrasil Path. The only reason I say that is because that's kind of old faithful. At least it was in Season 0. I know teams have kind of found more favorable ones. I'm thinking of, I think it's Spider Islands. I always get that. And Shinshibuya kind of mixed up. But yeah, I think they are really strong looking. At least they were out of the gate. That is Xavier. And I think they have that possibility to come back. It'd be silly to think that they didn't. But I do worry that every time they step up the ladder, every time they pull something out of their catalog, that it could just be matched by the Ravens. Not saying that that will be the case, of course, but you start to wonder what exactly is going to happen here. Is it enough to get you across the line? As for the Ravens, I mean, we've seen what they can do. They look pretty strong. They favor that dive. I have a feeling if you're talking hero picks and bans, you're going to be banning that Daredevil out. And if I'm Ravens trying to think of a ban, maybe you opt for either a strange ban or a magic ban even, or you stick with that Iron Fist ban since it was probably a target. You want to just kind of stick it out because you didn't really have too many problems on the other side. You can kind of stick around, keep going what you're doing. As for that side selection, we all predict that the team that wins that first map usually moves on to that defensive side in the second if they are allowed the option, if that's how the settings work in this competition. So we expect them to kind of go through that, try and get through the series as quick as possible because they don't want to have to play any more than they have to, because that could be more time for mistakes to be located. Got to keep that in mind as the series do drag on, because there are multiple series these teams could be playing on today. Not only that, they'll have to follow it up tomorrow. And then I believe one more day after that. No, okay, I lied. The grand final will be tomorrow. I just don't believe EGF will be hosting that on our channels. I believe that is on Rally Cry, so you can check them out there. But as for this, I mean, it's been a banger of a series so far. Even though it's only been one map, we saw a very close sub-map number 1. And now we're just kind of waiting to see how the rest of the series goes, how map 2 goes, what the choices are. I did get a look at the players in the lobby before we kind of jumped into the stream. I got a showcase. These players are around gold, silver, platinum. There is, however, though, a diamond player in this lobby. And I forget which team it was on, but if I had the guess, I'd say probably the Ravens just because of their seeding and how strong they were out of the gate. But of course, Raymond Ravens up 1-0 over Xavier. And looks like we're going to be getting into that second map very shortly. Let's see what those hero selections look like. Spider Islands. Okay, I think this is the one I was referencing. I don't know what I called it earlier, but this is the one I thought was going to be the case. Nash, not be allowed to play that Spider-Man. Iron Fist, the same 2 target bans will come through. Phoenix Save, though, going to be the case here. We saw a ban later on by Xavier. That I believe that was their second or third one. And it's the Bucky Save. So both teams realizing they need that critical element that was banned out by their opposing team earlier in that prior map. There's going to be the Daredevil ban. So Nash just getting fully target banned, not allowed to have any fun, regardless of the character we've seen them on before, or that their profile may say now. Ravens for that magic ban. Yeah, we called that one too. So everything very traditional. The adaptation very straightforward. This is what gave us problems before. This is what we're going to save now. And the Star-Lord save comes through. You have to expect maybe whatever the new character is that's coming in as the adaptation. So for now, it is Border. I believe they were on the Magic in the first place. Now they're going to be on that Vanguard Deadpool, which is a scary thing to see. That cap ban comes through. You start to wonder, Raven's probably going to swap that out with a Strange. They'll probably play the Strange. As for their ban, I don't think they really know what to go with here. Maybe a Vanguard ban of their own, just to say, or the Gambit again, I believe is what they went with. Oh, no, the Moon Knight. Okay, so they're sticking with that Moon Knight. Very fair.
All the difference.
One of those characters that can easily turn the tides if the price is right, if the comp calls for it. But there you go. Gambit now going to be in effect. It's Chasey. Chasey? That will be on that Gambit player. Kirby sticking with that Star-Lord actually looked pretty convincing. I've seen a few Star-Lords in the past, or at least recently, that were kind of struggling, would kind of just use that character for their ultimate, but it feels very coordinated with Nash, who was on the dive. Now, of course, that is going to be Nash on Phoenix, so this comp is going to feel a little bit different. Heck, the GOAT as well on that White Fox, going to be mirroring Gamer Boy from before. And now no tank for Xavier on this attack. I start to worry for them just a little bit because of that, because Groot, as much as those walls can go up against a decent amount of damage, against something like a Phoenix who's going to farm you for headshots, I'm worrying how much damage they're going to be able to absorb, and if they're able to protect their team enough from that suppressing fire. Key player going to be a Droth here on that Bucky. Make sure that you keep your eyes peeled on them. That could be a very quick pick if that hook does land. But a very aggressive hold, and there is that initial hook. The bubble saved, though. The shield available, so nothing too dangerous, but definitely a sign of resilience coming out from the Xavier side. Of course, bubble will fall, and that's maybe the detriment of the no shield. Farming up these ultimates are the Ravens. They're just staying out strong. And Border already has theirs, of course. That is a little bit easier to farm up on Deadpool, you know, the level up effect, things like that. But it is going to be applied right now off the rip. And, ooh, that is some burst damage that lands in the entire team. Ravens have a firing range that they are not going to let go. And again, they find themselves with the upper hand. Cable, I believe, was on Magneto the prior map, now on Phoenix. So a bit of role swaps as well coming through, trying to find that magic combination of what will work, what will give them the best chance of victory. And that's definitely a very tantalizing way to go in. You saw players at half HP, but don't overcommit too much. Could get hooked in, that pressure could be applied, but no, Dino falls down. It's the Phoenix, all finds 3! Nash, you're nuts, bro! Doing it in the first map now, reaping the rewards in the second. Again, the Ravens find themselves still holding strong. Minute and a half now burned off this clock. Ults available, 3 for the Ravens, only just 1 for Xavier. Second of Gambit coming up through, but that's an isolation on the one player that did have an ults available. And the struggles will start to come through, although that is a tide change, to say the least. I mean, that is 2 picks. The Magneto sticking to the front line a little bit low, but still holding on, still trying to preserve that space. Cooldown's very low, though. I actually am kind of surprised while they're still committing into that, but that is going to be Deadpool effect applied, hence why they are feeling a bit aggressive. Oh, boy. Trying to have that movement. Not going to happen, though, for Goodbyes. And so that payload will start to move forward. The White Fox sticking strong in the middle of this team, but very low, farming up that ultimate just barely quick enough. And matched up by the opposing White Fox. Very low on HP. You might want to get out of there. It's not just infinite HP. And there's going to be the Kraken impact. That finds 2. That's what we've been looking for from this Xavier side. And it's that melee alongside the hook, along with that particle cannon that finds 3 additional kills. This is going to be a full contest here. Going to be very close. That Kraken impact still in effect. 2 meters left. There is the touch. And now that legendary comes through. The bullet's going to be trying to absorb that legendary from the Meteor M, but it just does not happen. It's Kerby's to find 3. And auto aim is certainly powerful, but a few more ults going to be used on the side. That was the Raging Royal Flush. That was the Phoenix ultimate. That was the Thor ult as well. So a little bit scary, as now the only thing you have left is that Meteor M. Of course, that could match up to the one on the other side from the Gambit. But for Xavier, they need an approach. This is kind of final fight territory before maybe you get a strange TP, although not quite sure if they use that here and now. Oh boy, very low HP. Yeah, Athletic goes down. That's that one ult off the cards. Speaking of cards, Raging Royal Flush now in effect. That one launched through, and it finds 1. The second one applied from White Fox, and as well Bucky, Punisher, everyone getting in on the mix. That should be it. Athletic going down early. Needs the team to feel a bit of the burn. They'll sacrifice point number 1 and look towards segment 2 as their chance to bounce back in this map. Ult's about halfway for both teams. Nothing too crazy, but of course that will mean that If not in this fight, the next fight will be an ult dump, a barrage, to say the least. And I'm liking this Bucky pick. Of course, we expected them to be strong on it as the target ban came out earlier, but really, just seeing the prowess from this player. Garroth, kind of just farm on up, lots of damage, as well as that splash from the particle cannon. There you go. It'll be that Deadpool ultimate, the overhealth kind of granted for the moment, but kind of low on HP as the rest of the team kind of sends their bullets back the other way. It's Dino to fall first, draw second, and of course it's Nash. The first 2 picks going to their favor, the rest falling shortly behind, and at the cost of nothing. No ults used at all. Maybe the Deadpool ultimate on the Xavier side, but for Ravens, they're feeling pretty strong about that. Of course, now you don't want to ult dump. That is the magic key to success here, right? You need to make sure you don't launch everything in so you have something for the next fight. Of course, don't get pieced up. Don't fall down a bit too early, as you'll also have a deja vu of that last fight. Is that a Phoenix ult? Nope, thought I heard a voice line, but instead, just the bullets additionally firing away. But yeah, I saw Dino in that kind of edge over towards the right side, and at a fraction of HP, they're going to fall down. Of course, Carbis just eats an absolute shotgun shot from Cable. That's going to be really strong. Oh, the invincibility applied for just a moment, but hooked back in, and the wavy got unfortunate, comedic even, as we watch that one go by, but still relatively even, waiting for that impact to be made, I was going to say, by one of these players, but it is the Kraken impact applied, and the White Fox will live for a moment, but not much longer. Gamerboy actually uses theirs as well, so all still about even, but the fight going to be won. Roth maybe just burning that last and final charge out of their ult so they can farm up more. But here's where the big fight is. This is where a lot of teams will get stalled out. Wavy finds the first on a border. That's not ideal at all. And with 3 ults on the board, you start to wonder who's going to use theirs first. It may not even be needed as the Wavy God again finding a second pick. Nash, Ethlic, both finding their picks. Carbis now in as well. And that is going to be 10 seconds. Border will have to launch a TP from spawn if they do have the time, but it's going to be close. And there it is. Teleport comes through. Who is it at first? It's going to be the Punisher from the sky, but Carbis takes out Dino. That one's strong. Still hanging out for dear life as Cable, but that's reduced from who's Nash. You gotta remember this person's name because they are having constant impact. It's a Phoenix ult with a 2K, and the Ravens hold strong in segment number 2. You thought maybe you could reduce their effectiveness due to the target bans of the Spider-Man, of the Daredevil, but it does not matter. In the end, still a tide turner. And for the Ravens, now the bar is set, the goal located, and now just a couple of minutes potentially separating them from a 2-0 lead. Of course, Xavier have plenty of things to say about that. They will not let that go super easily, but start to worry because you didn't find a way to full cap. Of course, it's not traditional necessarily for you to full cap, but you thought maybe you could have pushed it a little bit farther, and instead you fall just a tad short. Now going to be looking to make up ground in other different ways. On the Gambit, Roth on the Phoenix. I mean, everything feels kind of similar to what we saw on the previous side. But of course, with the defense, now you're looking towards a bit more stall from Dino, who's, I want to say, been struggling just a tad more. Getting caught out, absorbing a lot of damage. And White Fox has, even in the patch notes, been told as a support, a strategist that is not the most crazy healer. And the same can be said for Gambit. So they don't exactly have a main healer. But then again, Ravens also don't. So it is kind of that mirror battle on the support line of who can keep their team alive the longest while such a lot of damage is coming in the front lines. Initial engagement comes through. Dino, very low HP, will fall, and that's who's Nash, of course. That flare burst just detrimental to the HP bar. Half HP now for the remaining Vanguard of Xavier's side. They will be forced back a little bit more. Of course, the ult applied, so the melee is now in effect if they choose to do so, but it's just gone. Their HP bar shredded, and that is the constant payload push now applied to this Raven squad. They are just moving and grooving. Looking at maybe draw to farm up that Phoenix ultimate to kind of match up what's coming through, but looks like we are going to have a quick pause. Not sure entirely what's happening here, especially as we are in mid-fight. I believe you're technically supposed to wait until the team kill, but it's okay. I'm not the rule person. I'm just the yapper on the screen. The Ravens, of course, they are feeling pretty strong, so you can't really imagine they're having too many issues, whether it be comms, mechanics, game plans. As for Xavier, they're throwing things at the wall. You see the ideas. I mean, the hard engages come through with a certain amount of ultimates. It's just Dino's been struggling. Not necessarily their fault, of course, but the preservation of space that Xavier is trying to hold is a bit too much. And either Dino needs to verbalize that to their team, or the team needs to realize it and help them out. Whether that be giving that space a little bit more, going for a recontest of it, or going for that hard engage, going for a solid contest, and hoping to win it out in that brawl standpoint. All these players still looking strong, of course. I mean, we'll talk about Nash plenty, I'm sure. If a play of the game was a thing, they'd probably have it by now. Of course, there is still room for someone to snag that away. Kerbice as well been doing really, really good work. Athletic maybe as well, kind of similarly struggling to Dino in some points, but also making up for it in big moments as well. Finding that solid value, making sure they get that critical pick impact, staying alive, which is pretty much the Magneto moment, if you will. Just stay alive, make sure your team can do all the dirty work. But there you go, a lot of damage coming through, being applied to the Raven squad. The only problem is that it's more damage being dealt to Xavier. They tried to hold strong, but Dino now a little bit too close to the cart. The rest of the team a little bit too far back, and that split will cause them to fall just that bit more. Bit of a Phoenix chase going on here, and Kerbice on the Star-Lord will eventually find that elimination. Ravens, though, of course, will capture that first segment and now move on to the second. 5 minutes and counting for them in that time bank. So a lot more that's going to need to be garnered by Xavier to get themselves through this map without falling a bit short. Oh boy. Pretty low on HP there. Lucky they got the save. Careful. Playing up on the roof, deciding to play an off angle now. Dino falls, but so does the Wavy God. That's a lot of damage. Right focused into one player. Of course, Nash is going to be the recipient of it, and the Cable will find us one more as well. Deadpool ultimate just defend these players back, maybe? I don't think maybe the most necessary, but fair enough, I guess. Feel a little bit of that stress, a little bit of that weight on your shoulders. Using an ult to solve you out, maybe feel a little bit better is good. But that is the Raging Royal Flush going to be launched on in, all right? So that will be a Phoenix ult as well on top. That's going to be from Droth. Gamerboy as well in the mix, and it's going to be Ethic that gets at least the first, but the rest of the team finds themselves back in the spawn room. Xavier with a very nice fight, although 4 ults are used. And I say that not to be picking on them, but you look at the Ravens with 3 ults on the board, 3 fight-turning ones, not just, support sustain, but ones that can very easily get you a fight win. And there you go, the bubble applied, legendary, and that bubble has been completely popped. That's going to be Cable, though, that fries Kerbice out of the sky. A very nice 1-for-1 trade of ultimates that has Xavier back with the upper hand. Of course, who's Nash, though? As soon as that ult runs out, will make their mark on history. Gamerboy, though, finds themselves one, looking for more. It is going to be Cable. Where's that splash damage? Not coming through, and it looks like the Ravens will have to go for a reset once again. This is, though, the White Fox ultimate. It finds the one. The player goes down, but it's Nash to find the one elimination. And that neutral ground starting to be in effect. Nobody really has control at this point. Everyone's still kind of fearing, but Ravens at least finally finding themselves a good mark. Whoa! Wavy and Nash combo for 4 eliminations. That might just be it. They needed to win one fight cleanly, and they have it over in a matter of seconds. That's just it. That's GG. And Ravens now move up 2 maps to 0, 1 away from a series win. Wow. I mean, Xavier, they held on. They tried their darndest, but in the end, it was just too much to bear, at least in this map. You hope maybe one of their fights, there's an elimination that goes their way. I mean, you can nitpick very few things that would have got them through these fights, but in the end, Ravens, they just keep on coming. They're like a flock. Okay, yeah, I had to use that one at least once today, but 49 assists, by the way, for Chazzy. That's insane. 49, 31, 32K healing. And the heal numbers outdone the damage blocked, I guess, pretty close. But in the end, one team out on top has to win it through. And Convoy goes the way of the Ravens. For Xavier, though, of course, that means Convergence is up next. They have one more map to choose. And they are available to, go with something that they are comfortable with, right? This is going to be something they feel strong on. And if I had to make a prediction, hold up, let me double check the name on this one just to make sure that I've got everything right. Marvel Bible. We got to make sure, double check. I believe it is called Central Park, Empire of Eternal Night. That is just the map that people love whenever they have to go to Convergence. And if that is the case, if that Daredevil is not banned on out, that's exactly the map I expect us to go to and the character to be played for, say, Nash or something like that. But Xavier, they got to throw everything at the wall here. Something has to stick because their backs are against that wall. They are hoping for any sort of lifeline to be gained here. Xavier, we've seen some star players from them, some star power, but now they need to rise to the challenge as a team. It is going to be that symbiotic surface, Clintar, we're heading to. That is kind of the season 0 default Convergence map, if you will. So a lot of these teams played on this map should feel very comfortable on it, or at least have seen it, have known every single angle. But of course, we start out with our pleasantries, it feels like. The Spider-Man ban, the Iron Fist ban. What's going to be next? We're going for the save on the Star-Lord. Honestly, I like that idea. If they're going to keep banning characters for Nash, protect the rest of the team. I like that. It's kind of a safeguard to make sure that they don't remove certain elements. Of course, that magic is going to be saved. Of course, yep, makes sense. Instead, before it was a Punisher that we saw maybe in effect, the Deadpool. But as for this ban, going to be seeing either a Phoenix or a Gambit, in my opinion. And it is going to be that Phoenix. Ban out from Ravens. Going to be the Bucky. Yep, absolutely. Forgot about that part. But yeah, certainly reasonable. And then the save onto the Daredevil. There you have it. So I have a feeling I know what Nash is going to be playing during this game. Of course, the save onto the Deadpool Vanguard. No, the Moon Knights. We're seeing the return. Okay. And then that final ban going to be on maybe the Gambit? Oh, the Thor. Okay, fair enough. I feel like Thor's not really too often in this map, though, so maybe a missed opportunity there, but Ethlic will still happily go back to that Captain America. And the Namor ban. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what's behind the Namor ban. I mean, maybe just an annoying character not wanting to deal with, but interesting. I feel like they could have found either something a little bit more effective or, whatever. They're the ones playing, and we'll see how that shapes up. And if they do start to find themselves a little bit more pain from, say, the Thing that they banned in map 1 or the Moon Knight that they banned in map 2 but didn't hear, well, we can always look back and look at this moment and say, well, coulda, shoulda, woulda. No way is Nash going to mirror the magic. Oh my, it's the Wavy God off of the Thor, now onto the Daredevil. Are they running single Vanguard too? This is a defense comp of all time. I mean, it's defense dive, triple duelist, 1 Vanguard, and it's... Okay. There we go. That's a little bit more traditional. I mean, I wouldn't deny that I would like to see that triple duelist comp, but in terms of traditional success, there's not too much of it. Xavier, their comp running with the border on the Thing and Dino on the Emma Frost. I honestly like this. It feels really strong just off what we've seen from these players so far, what they're capable of. Dino, I think, is going to like that shield being available for them a little bit longer than the Magneto shield. And on top of that, you have that ability to do a little bit more damage frag on out. As for Border, I mean, they were playing, what, Magic earlier, kind of struggling, didn't really have as much HP, but now you do have more HP. You can soak up HP from your teammates, kind of keep giving them all charge, and then re-engage back into these fights. Of course, this time maybe a bit too ambitious. A lot of damage being applied there. And the White Fox melee should be good at taking down Bubble on the Magic to just that low HP, 1 HP. There you go. Kazi finds the elimination there. So first fight, of course, just a bit of a feeler, trying to realize what the opponents have on the other side. Now this is going to be that big moment where Xavier needs to find something that turns the tides for them. Granted, they do have that Hanakanchu looking relatively close to ultimate, so you could probably pop that, get a good jump on somebody, and find it going out. That Raging Royal Flush as well coming up soon. But there's that Hanakanchu, forces players into the fight as opposed to back. Nash will fall first. The Wavy God second. Is that enough to turn this fight to their favor? My guess is going to be yes, but of course, still not entirely set in stone. There you go. Border with Fisticuffs lands 2 more down. Bubble with that final slash them to oblivion. And that will be the point gained, at least that is if Ethlic doesn't have anything to say about it. They'll come in for a quick second and then back to spawn room for them. And that doorbell will ring. Wow, they're going for this contest. They are certainly going for it. And it might actually work out. I believe that was the Raging Royal Flush launched in. That Legendary still available. White Fox, just somebody stay on that point for dear life. Make sure you do not see 9. There's that Legendary. White Fox is well in the mix, but just not finding the eliminations quite yet. There's Rocket down. Daredevil soon to fall next. Act the Goat with 3 melee eliminations. Kerbice as well to finish it off. And now you're looking at just 1 more player remaining. It's a Moon Knight in the backline, and that Hanakanchu, it might have some surprise to it, but not enough to take down the entire team. What a recontest. What a way to hold on to that point. But can you do it again? You can't afford to now give up that first fight and then come back into a second. Nash, Wavy God, both with their ults up online, but Xavier 4 in the pocket. I have a feeling first going to be that clobbering time if they can get past that shield. Emma Frost, though, launched in first, and Gambit's going to be feeling that rough time, just using enough ults to secure these fights. Eye of Agamotto comes through on the point, but it's Nash with that magic, just barely not finding the final elimination. And as their team falls, the team wipe comes through. Xavier will hold strong. Quite scary there, but they managed to get the job done. Now we move into a bit more of a relaxing point of the game, where Poke, as much as it is a little bit prominent, will still be a bit more drawn out. You won't have players in the back line every 2 seconds. Kerbice, be careful though, down to half HP. Moon Knight, Hanakanchu, it's like clockwork. Can they get anyone with it though? It's the Dark Child maybe to follow up with it. That should get the job done, absolutely. Jazzy goes down. Wavy God picks up 1, but Bubble doing that hard work. Even in the sky finds an additional 1. And the Strange, you saw Wavy God on a sliver of HP. That removed from them as well.
That's the boost I needed.
Ravens gonna be feeling a bit of hurt. But we did see them after that first segment was captured, kind of come back strong in the second. And get their job done. Make sure this map didn't go the full distance. Of course, they will need a full contest in here. And they are blocked off. That is something that has always cost teams at certain points. Where is this flank going to? It might be a little late, but no, there it comes eventually. It's that Legendary available, but you just don't want to go for it. A bit too risky. 2 meters left. And this should be Ravens falling a bit short yet again. Xavier playing like this death ball, and it favors them because of the Moon Knight. There's the White Fox ultimate, but how much are you really going to keep yourself alive for? Not very long. Hanakanchu just to secure, of course, That is going to be the Raging Royal Flush. They are not cutting their losses. They want to win this fight. Legendary comes back in from spawn, and this might just be the contest they needed. Eventually, 3 picks from Kerbise, maybe a 4th on top. Clobbering time, though, to have a say in with it. Drop still hanging around. I have Agamotto, and everyone is just not giving up. But eventually, one of these teams will be removed. Ethlic finally with 2 eliminations, and Ravens will stand strong in the end. Wow. Crazy. Crazy that the fight comes out the way that it does there.
He stopped them in their tracks.
He just didn't know who was going to win it out until the very end. The Dino versus Nash, those key ultimates, the only ones really left. Ethlic, yes, please do not jump into that backline. A bit too much more than you could chew there in that sense. But here comes Dino. I thought might have used it. No, they get stunned out of their ults. Very big, but the pick still comes through on a Kerbise. There's that Dark Child, but is it enough? Is it a little bit too late? There's at least that first bout of damage, and it does slap on through. Eventually, it pays off. Little bit close here, and eventually players start to fall down, but it's still equal. 2 for 2 on both sides. Nash picks up a 3rd, but that one as well matched. You start looking at this thing to get that value that you're looking for, but low on HP, falls on down. Kerbise removes them from this picture. And now a lot of ults being farmed up for Xavier, don't get me wrong, but they need to make this hard contest come through. It is going to be that TP play. So with a few seconds left on the clock, here it comes up in the sky. You saw maybe a hope to kind of boop them out of the way, but that will not happen. And 2 initial picks just off of the drop down from the sky. Make that 3, make that 4. The BRB beacon not even going to need to be used. It's CYA popped and sending Ravens back to the spawn room. That first segment usually goes relatively quick. So the fact that, you know, Ravens held them down for a while is honestly a pretty good showing, but this is the segment of the map that a lot of teams struggle with. Because the field is so open, these off angles become really, really potent. A lot of the spam damage is not blocked by walls. A death ball usually propels teams to the kind of stronger side of it. And of course, both Magic's hanging on, doing a whole lot of damage. But there is going to be that Emma Frost ultimate that we saw. Was stunned out before. That pays off in this time. The charm effect does apply. But Ethlic, well, as much as I appreciate this ultimate, it does find 1, actually, but I wasn't expecting it to find 2 much more than that. I have Agamotto, though, paired up with will work. Of course, that is, though, going to be matched back, and so that should be a reset button applied. There you go. 4 players still hanging on, but make sure you don't get punished. Legendary, though, and again, that shield, and another shield, and another shield, it feels like, for Kerbise. Not really able to find the cleanest of quick picks, but of course they still do find 2 in the end. 1 will be res, the other matched up with. And Xavier, well, this is as good as a time of any if you had the firepower to go through. Same thing for Ravens, though, and it looks like they might have just a bit more. Raging Royal Flush thought about, but not used just quite yet. OT applied on through. White Fox ultimate comes on in, and just maybe trying to keep that team propelled up. Heals on out. The first damage as well. Clobbering time in the mix. That's going to be low HP bars every which way. Dark Child in the back line, and keeps on going. Players chase back even to their own spawn room before they go down. And that Dark Child absolutely going to propel them to victory. Of course, that is in that fight. It'll be 1 ult for 2 now coming through. Raging Royal Flush and Dark Child, that is going to be very, very tough to withstand, to live through. But the time, the meters, a little bit close for comfort. They will still stick it through, though. CYA is no more. That one will be gone to oblivion. Of course, the BRB used. I have Agamotto that's applied, and that'll stall at least for a little bit longer. Droth allows for the magic of bubbles to get their job done, but Ethlic bounces back. Nash pops back, and those players, the HP bar is a little bit lower, but one team a better respawn than the other. The more that this stalls out, the better it favors the Ravens. 2 meters left to go. Thing still with a decent amount of HP, but there's the flip almost onto the cart. There's that Captain America ult. Ain't no way you're taking players down through that. Is that effect applies, keeping them strong and healthy. The movement speed stimmed on up, and eventually the Ravens take it on down.
2.
Very close in the end there, but 2 meters separates that team from a full cap. Xavier will be back to the drawing board now for their defensive side.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Of course, this is potentially our final map of the series. Raven Rivals. They are 1 map away from taking it down if they can make this do. The only problem seems to be Bubble. I mean, Bubble has just been giving them a run for their money, constantly removing the back line, making sure that those players are never feeling safe. Because that one-shot combo, very, very potent. Again, though, we have seen Ravens be really, really strong in their attack side just with the sheer dive sort of playstyle. Ain't no way we're seeing a Blade out. I almost feel like you would rather go Blade on attack, Moon Knight on defense, but instead it's the opposite. All right, I'm interested to see how the cooking goes. Are you burning in the kitchen, or are you making a Michelin star meal? That was probably pretty high right now, especially with Xavier. Of course, this isn't their tournament life on the line, right? If they drop down a little bit, they're still gonna have that lower bracket to run through, where they will beat, they will play one of the 2 teams that were beat earlier in this bracket day. Bit of a Sonic Pursuit just activated, and there you go. Quick elimination potentially in order, but no. Eventually, yes, it does actually go through. Bubble falls short, and that is going to snowball. Xavier will feel the burn here. Maybe not immediately, but as that damage output is not increased, the rest of the team will start to back on up. Border, though, does come away with the frontline elimination on the Wavy God. But Venom so powerful with that HP bar of absolute infinity. And actually, Bubbles has had enough time to come back by now. Yeah, that is going to be a rebound. Ravens could not push the advantage hard enough. Nash maybe not doing enough on the Venom, at least just in terms of damage output. And they find themselves back to a rougher sign. I'd almost rather Nash on, like, the Daredevil role with Wavy God on the Estrange of Magneto, but well, maybe the hero pool is just not adding up that way. Kerbise finds the first. The effective dive onto this point closes that gap really, really quickly. And of course, the CYA popped on up, and it will actually pay off. Thought maybe not, but 3 eliminations in quick succession, followed by the 4th, will send this fight back to the spawn room yet again. Long stagger, maybe? Nope, got out. Barely. Both teams with about 4 ultimates, though. And if you're a support, you want to use them later than your opponents. There's going to be that Emma Frost popped on through. You could honestly tank this fight as an L and just kind of back up and reset, and I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to giving that space for now, especially as those 2 players have started to fall on down. That's a Blade ultimate as well. Clobbering. Wow. That's a big commit. They used 3 ults in that fight. Do not force out a single one. As much as, yeah, it was convincing, don't get me wrong, the last 2, just to pick up the staggered last player. It's a bit confusing to me. But we'll see if it does pay off in the end, if they can farm them up in the nick of time. Raging Royal Flush comes through onto the Venom. That's going to be a big chomp of the back line, along with the Legendary, along with Daredevil. That's exactly what you expect to happen when you don't have anything left. Darkchild burned, popped, and not even a swing off. So Bubble feeling painful there. Xavier might have a recontest. No strange TP there. Not going to have a repeat of what the Ravens did. And so we will move quickly on to the first segment after maybe 1 or 2 fights, we'll say. Xavier, of course, still the Cable Raging Royal Flush to work with, but against 3 on the Ravens side, becomes a bit tricky to find an opening in Legendary. We've seen this one before, and it looks like maybe 1 elimination onto the Raging Royal Flush user of Cable, and of course that will be the case, but a res applied to them, a 1-for-1 trade as well, to where honestly Ravens not exactly in the best of positions. Of course, Kerbise, though, takes down the rocket that just res their initial pick, will fall to the hands of Bubble.
And as these players battle it out on the point, slicing and dicing, trying to battle through, who reigns victorious? The Wavy God. Bubble, kind of a big stagger out as well on the point. So those are two big damage dealers from Xavier that will not be available in the next few moments, allowing for this poke from Ravens to be really effective. Nothing really for them to fear. Venom, of course, should be able to get out as they need to. There you go. Clobbering time, though, back as from the spawn. It's going to be dropped as well, trying to apply those blades onto at least some players from the enemy side. That won't find much except one. That was a quick ult, popped and removed from the White Fox effect for the GOAT, but there is that ultimate from Daredevil. Trying to jump through, land as much damage as possible, but it's just too many players on the other side. The CYA popped and through. And again, a stalemate that Xavier turns into a win for their side. This res from the rocket, I mean, Gamer Boy has really been flourishing here. Feels like that extra sort of damage that is applied, that extra 7th person, comes through and wins these fights for their team. Ooh, big pick on a cable, though. Venom, a little bit low here. Might have to back up for a moment, but the rest of the team should be able to make things up for them. Of course, assuming they can get that quick punish through, and that does not become the case. Kazi will fall. Second charm applied. Dino feeling really strong on this Emma Frost, and we might have the Ravens falling a bit short in this map. I mean, Xavier doing everything they can, and it is working beautifully. We've got as well punish Big Stagger in the back line there. Nash, as much as I feel like they are drawing the cooldowns, it feels like they're struggling to find the quick eliminations that their team needs. And so I think maybe a Strange would be a little bit better just to kind of propel them a shield, help heal for the team a bit more against that magic. But it's the Wavy God that takes out the first time. Big clobbering ult, though, and it knocks everybody up into the air. Captain America ult will be used, but to no avail as the rest of the team kind of reduced to oblivion behind them. Yeah, just gonna have to get on out of dodge, and they'll be lucky to leave with their life. So will Wavy, as that is removed from them. "20 seconds left on the clock. No Strange TP in sight, so if there is a nice long staggered fight, they will at least be able to do something about it. But there's that Dark Child, and now you start to be scared. That is going to be the Legendary, though, applied onto that magic. Perfect to counteract. Great vision, great idea. You saw maybe the target priority a bit shifty there, but Gervais still finds that second elim and makes things much, much better for themselves. No clobbering time to throw a wrench in the plans yet. And so you will have a fight win for the Ravens. Of course, they will need one more to get past this segment. Yeah, you see Thing close to their ultimate. I mean, the CYA as well, looking pretty close. Wavy God, you're looking to maybe turn these tides along with Nash. Punish that rocket any way you can. Dive them if you have to. And although that Raccoon's a slippery guy, you need to take him out early before he can really find that much value. Yeah, take him out. And the ults, I don't even think got popped. If they did, very close. Clobbering time removed as well. A 1-for-1 that should spell for the Ravens to have that upper hand, but still those picks not coming through just quite yet. Eventually the dive comes in and the Wavy God strikes their hand of justice down. There you have it. The Ravens still in this one. They'll propel this cart ever so much further, but of course need to get it all the way basically to the end in order to find that win. Although these are nice gifts just being given to them. I mean, Border swaps over from the Thing to Strange. Wanted the TP, but that doesn't happen. Instead, is staggered right back to spawn. And this under kind of tunnel space that you're looking at right now sometimes causes teams problems. Well, it's not going to have any sort of fight, so no way to really tell. Bubble with that Dark Child, though. Froth with the blades. Looking forward to this, but again, the dive applied to the rocket. Emma Frost ult comes through. 2 charms, blade ult. It's like clockwork. And of course, it will end the fight quickly this time. But now you need to win one more with just that Dark Child. And the Legendary is similar to what we saw either earlier. with that 1-for-1 counter could very well be the case here. Of course, the legendary referring to Galactic Legend. And there you have it, popped on out. Gambit falls on down while trying to propel their team to victory. Darkchild at least not going to be invested, but that is going to be 5 players on this cart looking for a quick propeller to the end of this map. Of course, that will be one more fight still granted to Xavier because of how quick that fight was. Darkchild applied. Let's see what happens. Be careful that you don't go down early. And it's Kerbeist that feels the wrath. Where is that ultimate from Captain America? It just doesn't happen. It does not happen at all. Eventually it comes through, but just used to stall instead of help the team out win their fight. And that might just be it. Maybe a strange TP in the mix. It's going to be quick. It has to be a jump through. They've got the touch, but no ultimates really in the picture just quite yet. Oh, it's a shredding of players. All red in that kill feed. Clobbering time. Moon Knight in effect. And a Conchu for good measure. And it's Xavier to take their first map of this series. In the end, they do it. They find a way. So this series will not end just quite yet. It is going to be a reverse sweep required for the Xavier side, but we have our first game that goes beyond 3 maps of the tournament so far, of these national championships. Instead of a 3-0 that people might have thought before, it is a continuation. As for Ravens here, it does feel like they almost, I don't want to say lost this map from the ban stage, but that felt like the brunt of their problems. They just didn't have any of the tools that they felt comfortable with. I mean, Nash was on the tank roll doing 32,000 damage on Venom, which is nuts, by the way, but it just comes out to a situation where they don't have that like clockwork style game that they tried to have before, right? Whatever solution they had, something that was propelling them to win these times, was no more in that game. The Wavy God, I mean, I liked their Thor, I liked their Daredevil, but I think to the point of winning combinations, you're looking at Thor to be that next catalyst for them to get back on that winning side. Of course, we still have a multitude of maps that we could go to next, modes even. That is all up to the Raven Rivals side. I'm going to guess they go back to domination. They're going to ban out the thing like they did last time. They're going to ban out the Iron Fist, and they're going to call it a day, right? It is a bit tougher to get yourselves through these maps after a loss, but in the end, if any team is going to be able to kind of bounce back from a map defeat, it is going to be the number 1 seeded Raven Rivals. Of course, I'm a little curious how they determine seeding. It might have just been on pure rank. And in organized play, rank doesn't exactly matter as much as we would like to say, okay, yes, this player is a little bit more skilled, and maybe you can tell the difference sometimes, but at least in this case, right now, it is an even game. We saw it on sub-map 1 of map 1. We saw it through segment 1 of map 2, and just in map 3, a constant battle every which way. One character kind of determining the fight every single time, those ults really being key factors. And Rivals, it does depend a lot on those ults. So keep your eyes peeled for any check mark that comes up and is applied. I believe we are going to be getting into that next map shortly. Of course, we are just waiting for players to select their potential maps, things like that, get situated, and then we'll be good to go. Ravens up 2-1. For those of you just joining us, a best of 5, meaning you need 3 to win. Raymond Ravens, they came out swinging. They took the first 2, but Xavier, with their dying breath, bounced back into this one with a good left hook, actually. And now Raymond Ravens not just worrying about, okay, can we, bounce back from that, but can we win the series? Because you've seen what Xavier can do. It is not an easy feat. Xavier working on their compositions saw the kind of gap that they needed. And whatever they did in that previous map looked really, really good. I mean, Bubbles on that Magic was cooking. And I think that was not the original Magic player that we saw for their team. So a little bit of dive swap up, players moving around their roles, and those are the key changes you need to make in games like these, right? If you try things and they just don't work, keep trying more. Even if you get blown out in one fight, it's going to help you a lot if you win a different one and eventually win out the map and game. Here we go, though. Map number 4. It is going to be Domination onto Royal Palace. And if I know anything about these first two bands, I would assume it's going to be Spider-Man and Iron Fist. But we'll see if that sticks out along strong. Kerbice is hovering the Dino right now. I'm not sure if that's entirely eligible for play. But I guess that's not for me to administer. I mean, literally came out yesterday. So I'm going to say probably not, but that's just something I would maybe get double checked with the rule book somewhere. Thing banned off the rip. No Iron Fist. So the Iron Fist saved out now. Phoenix save. Thor ban. And what do you do here? Ban the Bucky. Save the Star-Lord again? But Kerbice is, yeah, on that Dino. So what exactly is going on here? As these timers tick down, as these bans are through, I am doing my due diligence to look through and make sure those all players are along with the rule book. Let's see, where would I go here? New characters, probably? Age 21. Yeah, I mean, Star-Lord ban comes through. Kerbice onto the Mr. Fantastic, and then the Moon Knight ban as well. This is a full compositional swap up yet again. And you start to wonder, is this the magic combination that Ravens needed? I was thinking they would probably try and replicate what they had before, but that appears not. For rivals, not seeing anything about new characters coming through.
Get ready.
If maps are changed, so will the competitive map change. Interesting. Well, maybe that's a question for next series. We're probably not going to see the Dino today, as there's certainly been no strat development or implementation for these teams so far. At least we'd assume.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
I like this cap pick, but again, I'm just a little bit worrying as to if Ethlic can use that ult at the right moment to propel their team to victory, because it feels like a stall ultimate a lot of the time is what we've been seeing. Wait a minute. Did we play this map for domination the first time? Maybe I'm forgetting things a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just getting a sense of deja vu right now for no reason, I guess. Nash on the Phoenix. We'll hold strong here, and Ethlic make that one pick for them. Bubble, of course, rezzed in the back lines, Kerbice. Then a melee elimination for themselves. But that is going to be the Deadpool ultimate. Kind of used in the back lines just to kind of level themselves up, things like that. Percentage being gained for the Ravens. They will continue to work it. Try and win this neutral fight, farm up the ult charge as quick as they can. Of course, that's said for both sides. Magic into the back line, though. That is going to be the hard dive, and that will not go very, very well. Kerbice maybe swapping to that Mr. Fantastic specifically for that anti-dive purpose. Being able to live things through. Dino will fall. That'll be a res applied onto them, but is it enough to turn the tides of this fight? My sources say no. Just not enough gas in the tank really to get that damage through and through. Of course, that is going to be 4 ults now formed up for the Ravens, 52% available. And, well, that'll be the first player going down for the Xavier side. That'll be a quick second as well via the Phoenix ult, but matched out 2 for 2. It looks like, no, 2 for 1. Xavier really invested a lot there and just could not get the ball rolling. Ravens had initiative and took them on down. Quick neutral fight again. A little bit of a poke game. And 4 ults, I mean, honestly, the thing with Rivals is maybe you try not to use all of them and save them for the next point if you can. But there is the Horn of Proteus. That one's going to be launched on through. It'll be Raging Royal Flush. It'll be Mr. Fantastic. And there is at least a flip coming through, but the pick's still in favor, or so I should have said, for Ravens. But that is a quick even 3 for 3. Mr. Fantastic barely with a sliver of HP hanging on. Eventually will be removed there. Here comes the cap, though. Still not using that ult. Now it comes through, providing them that extra little bit of HP. Dino will fall as well. A 1v1 created for them if the team can get back. Quick contest, but percentage still being gained for Xavier. If they win this fight, it's going to be essentially a big stagger, a big loss for the Ravens here. But there is that elimination. There is the quick flip. 2% left. You need a contest. No, it doesn't happen. The OT timer not in effect. And that first sub map goes to the Ravens. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, I don't know why in my mind I feel like we played this map before, but maybe I'm wrong. No, we definitely did. Because I remember a Captain America going in and dashing over to the left health pack over by the edge. I don't know if that's entirely allowed, but here we are, I guess.
We've had our triumphs and our tragedies.
Both teams must have agreed to it. They're playing it out now.
As X-Men always do. I just wish I could do more to help. Well,
2 ults at halfway for Xavier. The Ravens 2 ults on board. This should be a quick fight to work with, assuming they can get the best result possible. But Odin's Archive is not the most kind of maps. There's definitely a lot of pressure being applied in that upper level, if you will, after using those jump pads. Cable swapped over to the Punisher, though, and normally I would agree against what Ravens have been doing with that Star-Lord comp. It kind of makes sense, but interesting to see how that will play into this case. It's going to be Droth that falls relatively early. No magic, by the way. Bubble on the Gambit. Double charms there, and yeah, that's not going to go super well. Make that a third. Yep, pop goes the Weasel. One more player left to go. Ravens will remove them swiftly, and there you have it. 2 ults still on the board for them. Nethlick with that final elimination to go. Xavier feel like they're grasping at straws right now, and that's not necessarily to their fault. We talked about their strategy of kind of just throwing something at the wall until it sticks, but this has been a lot of role swaps, a lot of character swaps, and those ultimates yet to farm up. Ravens, of course, they will lose their first. Kerbise falls a little bit shortly. That jump onto the one player, the bounce shot will find Droth on the Iron Fist. And maybe make that a second pick onto the Emma Frost, looking pretty low, but healed on up, still staying alive. And Droth back from the grave will remove Chazzy. Actually, this is looking pretty good for them. Now just looking at that stall game, trying to farm up additional percentage. Droth, man, 2 kills in the backline. Looking really good. And maybe now that's why we're seeing the Iron Fist being banned in those first 2 games. Breaking the bridge, making sure there's no high ground that can be contested for these players. That's a lot of bullets it takes to break them, though. And, of course, all of it's regen. Unlucky. They spent all that time breaking it just for it to come back at 75%. But there you go. Punisher ult going to be in effect. That's 2 picks for the Ravens, but trying to be matched on out. It is a CYA combined with a See You Later. Oh, my gosh. 4 picks combined with all the various ultimates used from Xavier. 4. I think that was an... Bye-bye. Yeah, you're not outliving that one. Quick respawn. A little bit of a recontest here. 5 players in the effect radius. There you go. And now everybody launched in living. She thrown to the wolves. Invisible barrier. That's the first we've seen of an invis woman, but that will certainly get the job done. These players hanging on for dear life, but no elimination possibilities in the mix. Just playing to live. And thankfully, Athletic does not use the ultimate in that fight. Will just sacrifice their teammate and get out of dodge. Oh, don't run back in. Your shield's about to... Okay. Now they forced them back enough. But this is now Xavier with 83%. Ravens certainly need to bounce back in this one if they want to make it a quick 2-0. See the Iron Fist kind of being chased around this point, but I'm looking for that Athletic ult now. I want to see that overhealth be applied to the rest of the team. That stim help them out in this fight as opposed to a last-ditch effort. There's a big slam. It won't find the immediate picks, but Kerbis is there in the end to catch the 1 HP drop. That'll be 2 players dropped on down. Athletic very low on HP and does get healed back up. Does not need to use it. That should be the rest of the players following suit. Who's Nash to pick up the final 2 picks? And there you have it.
I'll be shipshape in no time.
Of course, TP play is available still for both teams. Neither team using the Strange just quite yet. Now the contest comes in over at this high ground. They want to push the spawn, make sure that they can stall out this fight a little bit quicker. And while reasonably so, it is maybe giving them a window to win the second one. That will be a contest, though, in the backline if you saw somebody flying around back there. That'll be a quick shield break. A lot of slams coming through. Quick damage applied, and there is that first elimination. Charm onto 1 more player. And Cable just fell off the map. Not sure exactly what happened there. Oh, maybe shot them themselves back off the map. That's unlucky. You hate to see that, but Dino swapping over to that Strange. There is certainly still a world. And now you see everybody as well realizing that could be the case. Is that TP coming through? There is at least that touch. Punisher, we've seen this one before, but not the best angle for them to play with. Still does not matter. We'll find first and then the second one, then falling down. The White Fox still dealing out that damage, trying to keep those players alive on site. Remember, though, Gamer Boy with that invisible barrier, just about 4% needs to stay alive a little bit longer, keep their teammates up, but that's Border going down. Raging World flush available. Invisible barrier popped on through. Last-ditch effort. They do not want to go down to that lower bracket yet, and it will not be the case. Drop is back to do that damage. Here's Athletic to try and hang on for dear life, but like we mentioned, their ults kind of just used a lot for stall. Will fall on down in just a moment, not allowing for this to contest to come through. You saw maybe 1 more player jump into the mix, but how long are they going to live? Not long. Oh my, they are sticking with this fight. They are going in. I just didn't think they were going to commit a lot into this fight when they're down 2 players, but they have found at least the first pick, though. Match that up against the living Chi, and you're probably not going to be feeling too good. Those fists will just shred everyone on your team. Overtime in effect. Is that a Strange TP from the Ravens side? I believe it was, but nobody there to hold that footing down. Ravens get knocked down a peg yet again, and so we are heading to Bifrost Garden. Just got a message in our production chat. I'm going to read it real quick and then update you guys on what that means.
Seconds before you attack. Get ready.
I do love a man in uniform.
Okay, so we might be covering 3 games today.
Welcome
Or
to every day of my life.
we might only be covering
Honestly,
2 total,
I'm not so sure about that.
which is what we are scheduled for.
The battle starts in 5, 4.
There is a game starting
3,
in a
2,
couple of minutes, hence why they're asking
All you need to do is
potentially maybe we get more, but
Got it?
I swear, if this outfit
we'll
gets
see how that goes
there will be hell to
based
pay.
on how this map goes, right? Because if Xavier wins it, we will not have that third map. Or sorry, excuse me, the third series due to another map being in the way now. Very low HP for all these players, but ooh, Droth goes down. History there. Now, Emma Frost hanging out in the front line, trying to go for that melee applied, but too much damage. Might actually fall down. Somehow still alive, but eventually taken down. And that's maybe why we got a Luna Snow in the mix, something we haven't quite seen yet today. But interesting. We've seen all Rocket, we've seen all Cloak and Dagger. Even that wasn't too much. It's been Gambit and yeah, White Fox the entire day. Iron Fist hanging around for dear life. Of course, no way you get out there. A sliver of HP. Come on now. But Captain America doing a good job of marking this Iron Fist, making sure they do not have that success. Eternal Bond going to be launched in the mix here just to close the gap, make sure they win this fight out. And they certainly will. Not even going to be close. In fact, pushing everybody back to their spawn. Maybe not even needed. Almost wish you would have saved that against the 4 ults coming back. But then again, you're not really living through a Punisher ult even with an Eternal Bond. Are you now? 50%
More than half of the mission area.
up on the mix. And we've seen this story before, but it was matched out. There's one charm, and there is going to be that Punisher ult. Is going to crack a shield over on the other side, but as for that damage, it doesn't come through for the final blows. It does, however, get the teammates the final blows, and that should be it for the Ravens in this fight at least. White Fox might have to get out of dodge. Does find a TP away. No insanely long stagger. 4 ults to 3 now. You start looking at the Ravens as maybe a chance to break their way through. I mean, Raging Royal Flush into a Phoenix ult. I'm pretty sure that's darn close to a 1-tap. Just need to sneeze on the rest of the players, but that is going to be an Emma Frost ultimate. There's one charm that will be punished. No, it doesn't come through just quite yet. A defensive play turns into, and Droth finds 2. That's not even with the Living Chi. That's just with straight up abilities. But there comes the assemble. There is once again that stall ultimate we keep seeing from Ethlic. While it does keep them alive for a little bit longer, does it turn the entire tides? Well, Nash is trying to do their best. Of course, that is going to be a stun up now onto 1 players. But this should be an even 4v4, assuming all players are back. That is going to be the Luna Snow ultimate, though, so good luck breaking through that. You'll have to wait an additional 10 seconds. White Fox ultimate in the mix as well, but Living Chi in the back line, ain't no way you are going to be feeling in any way safe. Of course, that is going to be Emma Frost going down on the point, and add that up into a Xavier fight win. Again, the Ravens do not know when to cut their losses. Back up, back out, and make sure they're staying alive in these maps. There is, though, going to be the Raging Royal Flush. That'll be matched out by the Emma Frost ults, and that does cancel out onto 1 Eternal Bond, at least not used, not available. But that is a quick fight won by Xavier. I'd say get out now. Go for that strange TP play. You don't really have any ults to work with, but you have at least removed Punisher. So there is world to work with. Nash goes down in spawn. It looks like that is. Is there even a touch here? Looks a little close. There is at least a contest. Nobody swapped to Strange, so no Strange TP play quite yet. Of course, waiting for one of these ults to be farmed up. Hopefully the Eternal Bond. It's coming in quick, and there it is. But now the Punisher ult going to be right back the other way. Good luck. Best of luck. I would be very scared to go through any sort of this. And, well, it's looking close, looking low. No immediate picks quite yet. And it runs out. The ult, no more bullets, but still players hanging on for dear life. Everyone's still alive. Nash, pop that ult when you can. But the shotgun finds 3 from Cable. Ain't no way this is how they're going to win it out. It is immaculate. The Wavy God tried their best with the TP. It doesn't happen. And, folks, we are going the distance. We're going to a map 5. A reverse sweep may be in the cards. Look at that. Wow. Crazy. There you can see the scores coming through. Ravens, again, throwing things at the wall now, but it has been the same problem that has affected them throughout the past 2 maps. Xavier have picked up on and have won out the fights for, right? Xavier just playing the more consistent team, and they are the ones reaping the rewards. Of course, Cable draw very big factors as to why that is, dealing out the damage, just finding those final hits. I mean, Dino as well, feeling a lot more comfortable on that Emma Frost, which is kind of what I was expecting as well. Putting them on a Magneto, not exactly the most comfortable on, doesn't allow them to frag out. And look at that, they find themselves with a whole lot of damage blocked, almost the most in the lobby. As for Ethlic, it feels like the Captain America is struggling on its own with no other dive. You see the idea, you see the chances that they're going for and the game plan, but right now, without that Thor, that Strange is left out. Not the Strange, the Captain America is left out to dry. And it just feels like you're on the struggle bus every single time. Just gonna take them a moment to, get back into the swing of things. But hopefully, like this is one of those moments where the coach steps in and says, "Hey, this is what we need to do. Big adjustments." And if it's the players, right, you need to take even the couple minutes you have in between games to get yourself back on track. Wonder why you're losing these games and losing these fights, and then transition that into an adaptation of some sort, right? As much as I'm yapping it out now, and it seems kind of obvious from the outside perspective, these players experiencing a completely different feeling throughout these games. It is not easy to realize these things. Granted, my job is to sit here and look at rivals and say, here's what's going wrong and here's what's going right. So for these players as well, it is a tough feat just to kind of go in and jump through and back to back to back, especially knock down 2 now, find a solution and bounce back in this series. But if any one of these teams can do it, it is Ravens. On their other side, though, if any team can go for a reverse sweep, it is going to be the team they're facing against Xavier. And I didn't really have a prediction going through, but even if I did have one now, I still wouldn't know who wins this map 5. I just could not tell you. I would guess, though, that we are going into Convoy. That's my only prediction going into this map. And I think as well, they are going to do St. Raymond, going to do whatever they can to get that save onto the Thor. There you have it. Just loading into the lobby now. Making sure players are good to go. Now we will get this underway. Can I get a sneak peek maybe? What's going on? No, maybe not. Either way, we are cooking our way through this national championship, and you might have thought this is the grand final, but no, it's just the upper bracket round 2. These teams fighting for a spot in the upper final, not even the grand final. And of course, one of these teams will also find themselves in lower round 1. They will need to win 4 straight games to take home that title. That is not by any means easy. Of course, this is a 3-day tournament. It looks like players might have played 1 game yesterday. We'll play at least 2, maybe 3 today. And we'll finish things out tomorrow when all is said and done. Wow, what a banger of a series we've had so far. I mean, 4 solid maps, kind of tables turning at every instance, and a world where there could be a reverse sweep coming through. These championships, nothing to scoff at, by the way. You're telling me that one of these teams is going to get knocked down to the lower bracket? That's insane to me. I mean, again, both of these teams won their first match 3-0. Regardless of seeding, regardless of how that went, I wish I had a little bit more information to give you past that, maybe what maps they played, but from what I'm seeing on our bracket service that we've got, just those 3-0 scores. Of course, Backline Bombers and Monsignor Mcclancy Crusaders should be playing now, as far as I'm aware. That might change, but we'll get the final verdict in the end. Players just kind of booting up, making sure everything's good, as well as the game having a quick logistical funsy time. That's all we're waiting for right now. Of course, if I can get an ETA for you, I will. Right now we're sitting here, we're cooking till that game gets all set and underway. We've talked about almost everything there is, right? We've talked about the numbers, we talked about individual players, the teams, the compositions, the stakes that this map has. And a reminder, I mean, this is the first game, at least I personally have seen of them. We have so much to expect out of these two teams, and it's a shame to send one of them to the lower bracket. But to increase the tensions just a little bit more, the games decided to have a little bit of fun with us. So we are going to jump to a quick break. When we do come back, we will have that fifth and final map of the series, as well as a plan for how the rest of the broadcast on today is going to go. We will see you in just a bit, and we'll have that info when we get back. Well, it's been a hot break, and by a hot break, I mean a semi-long one, but we at least have ourselves more rivals at the end of the day. That's what this all means. That's what we're here for, and our championship continues. My name is Ari Cass, bringing you the 2026 EGFH National Championships for Marvel Rivals. And this matchup that we have today, sure to be a banger, even though these teams might have gotten 3-0'd in their first few games. Monsignor, Burrell High School, and then we have up against them is going to be WP Davidson. So WP Davidson, they had played and they had, I believe, oh no, they had a bye. Okay, so that's what they had a bye into the first round based off seeding. They then lost that matchup and are down here. As for Monsignor Farrell, they lost their first series 0-3, and they are here because of that. So into this we go. This is the lower bracket round 1. The winner of this moves on to lower bracket round 2. They'll play the winner of Xavier Knights, who we saw earlier today, and the Da Vinci Gamma Wolves. Best of 5 for those of you that are still keeping track. And this will be our final series on the day. Just this one. All the games will have finished there. And then, of course, we will have some more tomorrow. So I will be around tomorrow to kind of complete this bracket with you guys if you guys are interested in sticking around. But for right now, for what we're looking at, let's take a peek at the hero picks and bans. To start off, we have 2 strategist bans, going to be Invis Woman and the Gambit. 2 that are very meta bans, no real targeting that we've seen just quite yet. That is going to be a Wolverine save, a Thing save. So you see people are piecing together some of their elements. We also do see 4 Dino hovers, which hopefully they do not plan on playing during the game, because again, I don't know entirely what the verdict is there, but we'll continue this game. We'll find out as it goes. Penny ban, Star-Lord ban. Those may be feeling a little bit more targeted, although Penny feels a bit more normal. That seems to be a lot of popular kind of mentalities towards in ranked. It'll be the Ultron save, so very interesting to see that. Typically, you don't see Ultron a whole lot, but with a flyer in the mix, can create the need for a hit scan on the other side. Not to mention, of course, that you just haven't really scrimmed against Ultrons many if these teams do start to scrim. That'll be a Punisher save, though, on the other side. That one feels a little bit more traditional. And then as for the final 2, just waiting to see what they will come out to be. My guess, maybe another support band, another duelist band. It is going to be on that rocket. So there you go. There you have it. No resurrection available. And then on the flip side, with a Squirrel Girl and Human Torch hover, by the way, which is wild. What are we going to have? Loki. All right, so the usual fun tricks up the sleeve still available. You've got the Squirrel Girl. You've got the Moon Knight. You've got, what are characters? Bucky Barnes, a Winter Soldier that people like to go to when they are struggling or when they need to kind of feel they step up for the team, things like that. But we are in this one, and a rogue pick is a little bit, I don't want to say unheard of, but a little untraditional, right? We know Rogue has been struggling recently. Of course, that is going to be swapped out for a Magneto, so just completely revert my point, make it useless. All right, I see you. But it looks like as those picks do solidify, we've got a Jeff, a Black Panther, a strategist pool, and then on top of that, you've got the rest that you would argue normal with the Punisher, the Magneto, and the Emma Frost. But on the other side, a little bit more traditional, although the Ultron is in the mix. Bro's name is Ultron Prime, so I have a feeling we know where that one's coming from. Luna Snow pairing, pretty normal-ish with the damage. So that's triple strategist. And then only 1 Vanguard of Yickety-Yak on that mag. And 2 very self-sustaining duelists over there. So going to be close to call. I would like to ask our producer real quick, just for confirmation, is that Davidson on the left side on the blue team, just for clarity's sake? And then as for that, we will get that information to you guys as well. But Jeff in the mix will be fun to watch. We always see some big ults from them. Now kind of just a matter of time until that first blow is thrown in the mix. Right now, it's going to be Sterling Tuna. Okay, had to make sure. They're going to go down first, along with another player from this blue side. So already feeling the burn, but Yickety-Yak at least back in one more time, trying to get their team over this finish line. Unfortunately, though, the flip has gone to red, and this battle feels a bit isolated. It feels a bit clustered in a particular corner, still struggling to kind of get that value out, get that movement forward. And, well, valiantly so, as obviously both teams would like to capture this point, get themselves out to a strong lead at the beginning. But here we go. Already, that is going to be the strategist pool, of course, ulting on out, leveling up, and not quite finding anything with it. That'll be Person Cool, though. That finds at least the first pick in this fight. So, again, the kill feeds staying relatively red. The point, of course, in control of them as well. And now this push comes through. That'll be the boss launched in. That finds two. The support line completely done and dusted. Of course, there are still players remaining, but Valiant attempts will only be what they get. This is almost a full spawn hold. They're keeping on pushing. And painful. Does it go?
I can be reckless now.
A little bit of a scan coming through, if you will. But now players from this Feral side need to make a go of things. And as we look forward, hearing that Ultron ultimate in the mix along with Meteor M, along with Emma Frost. That's going to be no immediate picks, but that support ult is used for at least keeping them up. That Luna Snow, though, going to be in there like swimwear, hoping to get things going back the other way. Jeff pops the ult in the mix. Yik Yak, though, launches that Meteor M just a bit too early. Of course, I don't think that Jeff really got anything. No, it did find two. But where is he going to throw them? Out into the spawn. A little bit of an isolation there, but can they find the value out of it? It's a 1-for-1. So, of course, this point has been flipped over to Feral, but they do need to hold on for a basic reverse sweep in the sub-map. It'll be a tough one to find. And for that clarification, of course, we do have Feral on the blue side, the backline bombers on the red. Sterling Tuna going in there. Unfortunately, not going to find too much. Phoenix ult, that's launched in. Doesn't find too much as well, but Eclipse Ares will fall. Judge, Jury, Executioner, let's see. Well, you're back to the spawn. How about that? How about that for an ultimate? Instead, Vemic as well. The Eternal Bond popped on through, holding on to this lead that Feral are trying to gain. The point still remains theirs, and so the adaptation that was made by their side, at least very strong initially. Backline Bombers kind of struggling out here. Of course, that is WP Davidson, for those of you curious. They had such a strong initial fight, and we saw this kind of earlier as well with Ravens, where they had that initial dive. It went really well, and then they struggled a little bit to find the consistent game plan that worked out for their favor and made sure that they could keep winning those team fights consistently. Oh boy, we've seen that one pay off before, and it pays off again. It's Eclipse Ares with now 3 kills. And that should win the fight for Feral, or excuse me, against Feral. They've only got 2 players left. That TP coming back from spawn is not going to happen. Hopefully they didn't even burn it, because then you wouldn't have it for this next point. But there you have a first sub-map done and over with. Eldritch Monument goes to the backline Bombers. Of course, the unique feature of Rivals compared to, we'll say, its predecessor of Overwatch, is that you can carry over those ultimates, that ult charge past one capture point into the next. So Jeff's going to be up for theirs. Last Amos 1% away. And then as for the Feral side, about 50, nothing too crazy there. So still looking to farm up some of those ults. Backline Bombers, though, should, as well as having that first summit, be poised to take this first fight of the second one.
Battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now for the waiting game, now into the point.
Got it?
These first engagements as well can be very, very key when telling both the tempo of the map, but as well just, oh, okay. Bit of a zoning ult, I guess, there. Maybe looking for a bit more, but I think that'll pop just a tad too early. Not quite having anywhere to throw those players anyway, but now instead we've got a Black Panther duel in the back line. Spears launched out, dashes come through, and I think that one, yeah, not going to go too well for Eclipse Ares, as that double does not come through with the double dash, but however, the double charm does come through here for Jojo. Unfortunately, just no picks to combat that. Ultron, namesake of Ultron, gets taken out by a Meteor M and then Person as well. Jojo Gave somebody a foot to the face, took them down in person with that shotgun, doing mighty fine work. 4 players on this point, and make that an extra one for the pickup. Backline Bombers continuing where they left off in submap 1. Giving it to work. A team up nobody asked for. I've never heard that voice line. That's kind of funny, honestly. There you go. That's the one ultimate online. Of course, Deadpool. You start to wonder when that maybe is used, how they want to use it in this upcoming fight. But that's 3, 4 ults coming online for Feral. 1 coming through. It's the Meteor M, but Person Cool finds the 1-for-1 trade on that. The only problem, though, is how do you scale forward if you're Feral? Well, they get walled off. The map moves. Don't forget about that. 50%, it starts to do its thing. And of course, Vamic has found at least their 1, but this is going to be an off-angle flank play, maybe a clobbering time launched into the midst as well. Eternal Bond, though, that's what comes in first. And it might find the back line a little bit vulnerable, especially as that screen comes out. But no, bye-bye, Vamic. That's a shotgun. Don't forget about that. That's a lot of damage. Jet Bolt comes through, though. And I'm not sure it caught really anything as the Earthbound effect comes through as they are launched into the air. Fish quite literally out of water. But backline Bombers, they stick strong. They stronghold. And they find themselves 1 fight away from taking this point. It'd be tough to find a touch. Not sure if the TP is available. But 5% left. Is there anything left in the tank? Shotgun onto the first. That might just be it. Yeah. Luna Snow ultimate just left in spawn. And with the 3 ultimates still on board, that is a catastrophic misstep. Feral will drop the first map to the backline Bombers. Of course, Eclipse Ares getting that MVP title. We saw them have a lot of nasty solo plays. I think maybe the team play with it was a tad off and could be a little bit more punishable in, say, like a Convoy or Convergence. But for right now and how it was working in Domination, absolutely. I think it was the exact fit for what they needed. They found punishes onto the players they needed to. And in the end, they put in the work, got the job done. Of course, these are some very fun names. Jojo Skira, Person, Blastomus. They're all fun names. I like them. They're cool, they're quirky. But as well, we've got 2 of these teams here in the mix, not just the 1. Although Davidson is up 1-0. Right? Just making sure those teams are on the right side. Because there was one thing in game, which was the... Okay. Yeah, okay. Just double checking everything's the same. I know we've had a lot of tech difficulties today, but we're making sure we can get you the best show as possible with these national championships. I mean, we talk about the 1-0 lead. We talk about how domination doesn't always tell how the series will go because it can be very misleading. I mean, heck, the Ravens, they had won the first 2 maps. They lost then Convergence and the next Domination. So you really don't entirely know. I mean, it was even the same map that was played the first and the 4th time, but different results came through. Of course, they did end up winning. So that can be maybe an idea of just one team is capable of winning